I know several times I've talked about how large the Devilman library is, like how much the IP has, but I don't think I've ever really like quantified it for you. So yes, obviously, you're gonna have your novels and manga. You're also gonna have your film adaptations, and like both, yeah, of course, both live action and animated. That's still pretty standard. And then you know what? Having video games is common, but is it really common to have it on, multiple generations of consoles, like multiple hardwares? You know what? That's not really common. To go even further on the games, you know what? You have crossovers with other franchises. Like there he is on this fighting game. Supposedly he makes an appearance in White Comic. And you're like thinking, okay, that's getting a bit big. A bit bigger than you thought. Well then, the hit series Cyborg 009? Well, I have a Cyborg 009 DVD here. Oh, but wait, it's a little special because it's a crossover with Devilman. This is not even half of my collection. Like, the collection I have for Devilman, specifically, is quite massive. I think the only other thing that I have that rivals it is my Evangelion collection. But if I were to put my entire Devilman collection of media, Devilman adjacent anything, this entire shot would be full. And I would say that I probably don't even own like 1/3 of the Devilman library. You know what? Let's just add this guy for a little cuteness. So now I've given you like the roughest scale. Like this is maybe like 1/4 of all the like Devilman consumable media. This is like a small like splash in the pond for how big this is. You'd think that a franchise with this much money, this many adaptations, like a series that's been going on for well over 50 years with more rumored to continue on, you'd think that a lot of people would talk about this franchise and you'd think that it'd be like so popular and everyone's talking about it. But not really. That's not to say that there's no community for Devilman. I have gotten to interact with plenty of you guys. And I love talking to you guys. However, I feel like it's kind of a closed circle. And I'd say a majority of Devilman fans probably only know maybe 1 or 2 of the franchise's like series. Like, I feel like the 3 that people really know are the original manga, the 1972 show, and then Devilman Crybaby. For as large as like an IP this is, not a lot of people talk about it. And that got me sent down like an interesting like research rabbit hole. And I think I like came to many conclusions on why that is. Now I should preface, a lot of my research has to do with like Japanese stuff, like weird like politics. I would like to specify that I am 22 and I've only ever lived in America. So maybe my perception is skewed. Maybe my research is bad. If you have like a more concrete view on it that opposes mine, please comment down below in like a respectful way, because I really do want to learn and I want to make sure that I'm not giving false information. So please, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But without further ado, let's talk about why Devilman isn't a really talked about franchise. Alrighty, let's set the scene. We're going back to the early 70s. More specifically, 1972, when this came out, and shortly followed up by this. And by shortly, I mean like less than a month later. This isn't like a plagiarism thing. They're both the same IP. Like, they're both Devilman. They were both created... Well, this was created by the original mangaka, Go Nagia, and he oversaw this project. It's another one of his creations. So, same IP, they both came out in 1972. Let's talk about the 70s for anime. It wasn't a really good time. At that point in time, there's less than like 50 anime aired in Japan. While there are some cases of European and I'm sure even fewer American audience members, there was a large amount of parents overseas who were worried that their children were partaking in Japanese propaganda. So, like, a lot of yucky post-World War II xenophobia and just general xenophobia all around, I guess, has always been a thing. Most anime at that time only received one season with a slim chance of getting a second one. Devilman, the TV series, is one of those. It only ever got the one season. It did get a completed ending, so it wasn't like canceled short. And it was actually one of the like longer running. I think most only ever got like a little over 20 episodes. But this managed to stick it out, I think, to 39 or maybe even 40 episodes before it got ended. So good for them. But when you look at it, it was a really weird time because Lupin 3 and then the first airing of Mobile Suit Gundam were considered very unsuccessful. Which, thinking about like how like well beloved and how iconic those series are today, to consider that there was a time where they're like even considered to be like unsuccessful is a like crazy thought to me. So what really changed? It was, believe it or not, actually the international success of Star Wars that fueled overseas interest in Japanese media. It's mostly because George Lucas heavily praised The Hidden Fortress and claimed that it was his inspiration of the series, of Star Wars, I mean. And then this also led to a demand of more space operas, which a lot of animes that were previously like not looked at, like Space Yamato and Mobile Suit Gundam, once again, they had new theatrical releases because of the demand. And after these, this is when otaku culture was kind of born, and it led to like a bigger boom of anime as a whole. Which is wild to think about that it was Star Wars that sort of saved the anime industry and brought it to like a greater world audience. That's sort of wild to think. But remember, A New Hope came out in 1977, so tail end of the 70s, we're getting on to the early 80s. So most of these animes who are like reinventing themselves, this is happening late 70s or early 80s. So I bet you're probably curious, why couldn't Devilman pivot like the others? Well, yes, other ones were able to find new life. Devilman was going to have a hard time overseas, especially because America. Because, do you know what occurred in the the late 70s and the early 80s, late 70s and early 80s? The Satanic Panic. Now, I personally suggest that if you're unfamiliar with the Satanic Panic, that you look into it. It's quite a interesting, weird time of American history. I'm not sure if it was like as problematic in other places, but to, I guess, summarize it, the Satanic Panic is a term that describes this era of investigation of hidden worshippers of Satan, with the primary main subject being children who somehow got indoctrinated through the media that they consumed. And people were accusing things left and right, such as music, primarily, or like rock and heavy metal, animated media, especially that depicts witchcraft, again, very, very loose. And even my favorite hobby that has still had its perception warped by this time. That being Dungeons and Dragons. A lot of unfair abuse and exploitation really stemmed from this outcry of moral panic. Now, in my research, I didn't see anything that named either iteration of Devilman specifically, whether it be this one or anything that came out around that time. I don't see anything listing the Devilman name specifically, but I don't think it's too far of a reach to say that this would have not been accepted. I mean, devil is in the name, It has Satan as a main character. It depicts transforming into demons, violence, and like nudity. All the stuff that would not have flown in the times of Pandemonium. I would also like to note that the Satanic Panic was not the only real time of like censorship and control over media, and that is both here and Japan. Japan has always fought for when are things too gory, when are things too sexual. Something else to consider when talking about Devilman is how confusing its IP is. Now, once again, I'm a huge fan of Devilman, and like previously stated, it has so many adaptations and reboots, and while a good amount of them share similar plot and tone, that is not always the case. Even as early as these first two adaptations, they differ by quite a bit. So, what I will call like the original Devilman, that is a very debatable thing in the community. My next video is going to be talking about like what should we consider the original and whatnot. There's a third contender. Again, next video, I will discuss it there. But this, we'll call Devilman Classic, has, like I said before, depictions of like blood, gore, nudity, like murder and stuff like that. Is a very like dark manga and has like a very mature tone about it. While you have the animated show, which is more of a I always get this word wrong, tokusatsu? Yep, I think I got it. More of a tokusatsu, which, if you don't know, that is like your Ultraman, your Power Rangers, your Masked Rider. It's stuff like that. More of your like superhero shows. And that's really the plot it followed. I guess for my people who aren't really familiar with tokusatsu, the thing that Way Big is based off of from Ben 10, if you know that one. But for my more American audience, think of like your very classic Superman and very classic Spider-Man. It's very much like that. So I can see, even early on, tonal confusion being a thing for the series, because I'm sure that maybe someone who read the manga was like, man, I really want to check out what the animated show's like, and they're expecting more like blood and boobs, and they're getting what I think you could easily describe as a kid's show. I think it's more nuanced than that, but I think someone could call it a kid's show, and I'd say that's fairly accurate. And I think that like this is a thing that's kept up. So like, I think when you have something like Devilman Grimoire, I think it tries to be a mixture of both of them, but I think it definitely leans a bit more on this side, where it's like the fun and playful element. It does have like some dark stuff in it, but I think out of the two of these, it leans more towards this one. You have the live action that I think is definitely more of a adaptation of this. It does take creative liberties, but if I had to say anything, it's more like this. Same thing with Crybaby, which I don't have a physical example of. It tries to be more like this. From what I've seen of the Cyborg 009 crossover, because I'm still trying to rewatch Cyborg 009 before I get into it, it seems like it's going to be more of the superhero depiction of him. So it never has like a consistent plot or tone. It tries to split between those two, but there's even some outliers with that. I feel like Devil Lady doesn't really fit in either category. And there's just so many other versions of it that split off. Like, I don't even know what Devilman versus Hades is about. That's like a whole thing that I'm looking into. So, again, large library, and not all of them are consistent in their tone and message. And I think that it is something that could confuse a community or people trying to get into this IP. And I think my very last point I'd like to make is that Devilman is a very hard series to recommend. Now, this does not mean that I think that it's bad or I don't want other people to see it. I think the series just has some elements that makes it hard to sell to people. For instance, the two series that I would probably recommend to people would be the classic manga and Crybaby. I think that they are like perfect entry points into the series, and out of everything that I've seen so far, I think that is the best way to introduce someone to the franchise. However, both of these contain very like gross elements, and let me give you some examples. So vague spoiler warnings and mentions of like gross topics. Both of these depict nudity, gore, sexual assault, murder, torture, the death and dismemberment of children, and then sacrilegious depictions of God and Satan. And then also to mention, you have all that like nasty stuff I said earlier. You gotta remember, like most anime, it's set in high school, so like it's got yucks all around. However, like I've gotta say when I say this is that I don't think that's a bad thing itself, because I think Devilman as a series, as a franchise, uses these topics to depict realistic depictions on how ugly humanity can be, and it also has that shock value that leaves long-lasting impressions on its viewers. However, with that said, I think it's completely valid for a person to not want to consume that content because it makes them uncomfortable or they find it disgusting. Yes, I know that there is like an audience for that type of people. Like, I don't know, look at your Saws and your Terrifier and like Chainsaw Man. However, like, it's undeniable that Devilman's content kind of makes it hard to discuss or recommend in like a casual space. Which I guess leads me to this conclusion. Despite its numerous releases and over 50 years of production, with rumors of even more on the way, Devilman isn't really talked about that much. Which personally fuels me more than ever to review and discuss them, because I believe that Devilman is an artistic masterpiece that I think that more people should know about. So yeah, that's the end of the video. However, I know that I'm not quite off the hook. I know that I have some questions and things that I need to answer for. The two main ones being is that why have I been gone for so long, and why is this not the video I promised to upload today? Let's address the disappearance. I have been mostly away due to my computer fucking crapping the bed. I fried the motherboard playing Baldur's Gate 3, which led me down a PC building nightmare. I should make it its own video, but to keep it brief, I was only planning to replace a few parts, but then I was lied about the parts that were in my pre-build, so I just had to make a new one from the ground up. I received a broken motherboard in the mail, and then I had to send it back, wait for a week for them to confirm, and then resend me a new one. And then, after everything was put together, I was experiencing blue screens for like 2 months. I tried like every conclusion I could, or every solution I could. Finally fixed that out. Fixed that. It was not detecting my copy, or there was a problem with my copy of Windows, and then there was something wrong with my graphics card. Basically, any software I tried to use did not detect I had a graphics card, which most editing software will soft lock you out of it when it doesn't detect your graphics card. So I had to get that fixed. So my computer was finally operational about 3 months ago. And then I immediately started scripting the video I promised. I've recorded the voiceover, and I've started the editing. However, the DVD ripper I've been using to get like really good footage from the DVDs I've like legally purchased, it just decided to stop working. I bought a new disk drive and everything, but that hasn't worked either. So yeah, so there was that, and then in this time that I've had to like reflect on the incomplete project, there's so much I want to do. Like, I want to voice act some of the manga panels that I've selected to show to the audience, and I'm trying to make it more visually interesting, because I feel like that is something that my videos lacked. This one included. I know that it was just a lot of look at me throwing my collection out there, but I needed something out really quick to get my promised date out. But I want to make it as visually interesting as possible because you guys showed the last video so much love, and I just want to make something that is very special and like to show you that I'm putting in time that is worthy of your like viewership and support. I don't know, so I've been very experimental with it lately. I kind of want to make it like Adult Swim vibes. I think that'd be really cool. So I'm just struggling to sort of figure that out right now. But yeah, I feel like I should make it special because you guys have shown me so much support and then I left you guys hanging for a year. So, hopefully I can sort it out and give you a video that I'm proud of. As you can tell, my throat is dying, but I wanted to get this out for you. So I think that is it for now. I will see you guys in the next video, and I love you guys. Goodbye.